only one chance for escape. Turret, prepare for space-time energy projection.
But the step is damaged. We may not have the power to make it.
If you were a kid in 1988, you remember the moment you first saw it. Not on television, not in a commercial. You saw it in a store, on a shelf, behind thick plastic packaging that felt heavier than everything around it. A Tyrannosaurus Rex, fully armored, braced with weapons, standing there like it belonged to a conflict you didn't yet understand. And something clicked. Not excitement, not joy, recognition. You knew you were never going to own it. Not because your parents said no, not because you hadn't asked, because it felt out of reach, too detailed, too complex, too serious for a toy aisle. You didn't have the language for it then, but you felt it anyway. The packaging promised scale, the engineering promised realism, and the price tag quietly warned something else entirely, something you couldn't name yet. Dino Riders entered the world already carrying a weight it couldn't support. And that weight? It was built in from the beginning. How much ambition can a toy line afford before the system around it decides the answer for you? That's where the story begins, but not where you think.
The Valorian starship is going to gamma acceleration, Lord Krulos.
The Rise. Why it worked. Tycho launched Dino Riders in 1988 with a plan that shouldn't have worked. The pitch was simple: dinosaurs, weapons, war. But the execution? That was something else entirely. They hired William Stout, a dinosaur illustrator with museum-level credentials. Then they brought in Robert T. Baker, a paleontologist, a real one. Not for marketing purposes, for accuracy. The dinosaurs weren't generic monsters pulled from committee meetings. They were anatomically considered, researched, designed to move the way real animals might have moved. And then they strapped lasers to them. But here's what made it stranger. The lore actually mattered. The Valorians used AMP necklaces, amplified mental projectors, telepathic devices for communication with their dinosaur allies, partnership, cooperation. The Rulons? Brain boxes, neuromechanical overrides bolted directly to the skull, suppression, control, domination. Two factions, two philosophies, both ridiculous on paper, both internally consistent in execution. The larger toys had motorized walking action, Diplodocus, Triceratops, Tyrannosaurus Rex, heads swaying side to side, legs moving in sequence with engineering that belonged in a museum gift shop, not a Saturday morning tie-in. Each Rulon toy came with a different self-automated trap, spring-loaded nets, magnetic restraints, mechanical jaw snares, more accessories than most kids could track without a checklist. The cartoon premiered the same year, 14 episodes, Peter Cullen voicing an explosives expert named Bomba, Frank Welker as an aerial recon specialist, Rob Paulson as an artillery expert. Voice actors who usually headline shows buried in supporting roles. The story involved a STEP crystal, a space-time energy projector that malfunctioned and stranded both factions in prehistoric Earth. The Valorians trying to repair it, the Rulons trying to steal it. Every episode another scheme, another battle, another chance for the toys to appear on screen doing exactly what they were designed to do. It was a 30-minute commercial with a budget that suggested someone believed in it. And for a brief moment, people did believe in it. But the shelves? They were telling a different story. The price tags were telling a different story. And the cracks were forming in places no one was looking yet. Places that would matter more than anyone realized.
Where are we, Questar?
Another world. A primitive world by the looks of it.
One untouched by Krulos' destruction.
The peak, when it almost broke. By 1989, the line had expanded into territory that felt like ambition without guardrails. Ice Age mammals, woolly mammoths with motorized walking action, the largest figure in the entire range. More articulation points than seemed structurally necessary. More armor, more weapons. The Stegosaurus had motorized legs that adjusted gait based on terrain angle. The Pachycephalosaurus had a mechanism that shifted its body from horizontal to vertical. tail rising like a biological siege weapon preparing to strike. Every new release raised the stakes. Every new feature added cost. Every iteration pushed further into territory the market hadn't asked for. The television series built its mythology around the STEP crystal with unusual precision. The Rulans kept trying to steal it. The Valorians kept defending it. In one episode, Krulos sent a dinosaur stampede through the Dino Riders camp just to create a distraction while his forces infiltrated from another direction. In another, he stole a baby Tyrannosaurus, knowing the parents would attack anyone nearby. Not because he wanted the baby, because he understood leverage. The writing understood something most toy-driven narratives ignored completely. The brain boxes weren't perfect. Push a dinosaur far enough and primal instinct would override mechanical control. A mother protecting her child. A creature too frightened to obey commands that contradicted survival. The technology had limits. The animals remembered what they were. And that memory? That was dangerous. Krulos himself wore an exosuit. Specialized armor for a warlord who trusted nothing organic. In one episode, an earthquake damaged it. Not an enemy, not a weapon. The ground itself. Even the most advanced systems could break under the right pressure. The line was reaching higher than the market could support. More detail, more features, more investment per unit. Each figure demanded more from the consumer. More shelf space, more disposable income, more commitment to a mythology that required sustained attention. And the children who wanted these toys most were the same children who couldn't afford them. This was the peak. The moment when Dino Riders had built something genuinely impressive and genuinely unsustainable. The fall wasn't a surprise to anyone paying attention. The fall was already happening in inventory reports and quarterly projections. It just hadn't been named yet. It just hadn't been made official. But it was coming, and nothing was going to stop it.
Excellent. The brain box works perfectly.
The fall. Structural, not personal. The toy industry in the late 1980s operated on rules that Dino Riders couldn't bend. Television syndication required volume. Audience retention required simplicity. Retail required price points that parents could justify without feeling like they'd failed some unspoken economic test. Dino Riders failed on all three counts. The cartoon lasted 14 episodes, not enough to sustain daily syndication. Not enough to build the cultural penetration that kept a toy line alive through lean quarters. The show existed, then it stopped existing. No second season, no continuation, no resolution to storylines that had been building towards something larger. Just silence. The toys were marvels of engineering, which meant they were expensive to produce, which meant they were expensive to buy, which meant they sat on shelves longer than competing products that offered simpler pleasures at lower costs. A child could want a motorized Tyrannosaurus Rex with integrated weapon systems and telepathic control interface, could want it desperately, could dream about it, could build entire imaginary campaigns around scenarios that would never happen. But a child didn't control the credit card. The STEP crystal in the show was a single point of failure. Lose it, and both factions were stranded forever. No way home. No resolution. The toy line had its own version of that vulnerability, only no one had labeled it as clearly. Lose the mainstream price bracket, and the whole operation was stranded too. The Rulans had brain boxes, devices that could be damaged in combat, devices that could be removed. Once disabled, the dinosaur would revert to its natural state, often aggressive, often uncontrollable, often turning on the very forces that had enslaved it moments before. The toy line worked the same way, only the brain box was financial. Once those controls slipped, momentum reversed. What had been an asset became a liability overnight. Inventory that wouldn't move. Investment that wouldn't return. Shelf space that retailers needed for products that actually sold. By 1990, the line was winding down. Not with a dramatic collapse, not with a public failure that made headlines, just a quiet disappearance from shelves that had never quite known what to do with it. The Smithsonian Institution would later partner with the brand, licensing the dinosaur molds for educational purposes. The armor removed, the weapons stripped away. Just the animals, sold as museum-quality replicas for a different audience. It was a dignified end. It was also an admission that the original vision had been asking for something the market couldn't provide. The war was over. The dinosaurs had been reassigned.
Young Star, are you all right?
Not for long.
The aftermath. What was lost? Dino Riders didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it was expensive. And in the toy industry of 1988, those two things weren't supposed to be the same. The engineering survived in fragments. Collectors still hunt for complete sets, paying prices that would have seemed absurd in 1989. The motorized figures still work, decades later, if the batteries are replaced and the mechanisms haven't seized. The mythology survived in memory. Two factions with opposed philosophies. Telepathy versus mind control. Cooperation versus domination. A space-time energy projector that could have taken everyone home. But the potential didn't survive. The second wave of mammals that never materialized. The expanded vehicle lines that existed in prototype form but never reached production. The deeper television continuity that was planned but never funded. The story arcs that would have given the STEP crystal a resolution. None of it happened. The Valorians had AMP necklaces. Lose the necklace, lose the connection. The bond between human and dinosaur, severed. The market lost its necklace somewhere around late 1989, and the connection never came back. The momentum never returned. What remained was a lesson no one wanted to learn. Quality costs money. Ambition costs more. And sometimes the thing you build is too good for the world that has to buy it. Sometimes wanting to be more than you're allowed to be is the only flaw that matters.
Big bruises are too blasted unpredictable.
You've just gotta have what it takes.
Turret, how long before you finish the wall?
Final beat. The lasting question. There's a moment in the Dino Riders mythology that never stops being relevant. Krulos steals a baby Tyrannosaurus. Not because he wants it, because he knows what the parents will do when they realize their child is gone. The brain boxes couldn't stop it. The technology couldn't override it. A mother protecting her child was stronger than anything the Rulons had built. That's the question Dino Riders left behind. What happens when you build something so powerful that even you can't control what it wants? The line wanted to be more than a toy, more than a cartoon, more than a product designed to generate quarterly revenue and then fade into obscurity. It wanted to matter. It wanted to last. And maybe that was the problem. Maybe wanting too much is the only flaw that can't be fixed with better engineering. Maybe ambition itself becomes the vulnerability when the system around you is designed to resist it. The Valorians never made it home. The STEP crystal was never repaired. The war never ended because the story was canceled before anyone could write the ending. And Dino Riders? It never became what it was trying to become. It just became a warning about what happens when you build something the world isn't ready to support, even if that thing deserves better than it gets.
The last reading I had on any Rulons was back in the future.
They were pulled through on the tractor beam.